I remember reading in a book several years ago this character who said she realized she had become invisible. She said, "I am a middle-aged woman with gray hair and glasses, and no one sees me anymore." And lately I've been thinking about this is something that happens as we get older, how little by little we become less visible to the world. It's not in a cruel way necessarily, just it kind of slides in. It's like quietly. The world seems to move on and it's no longer looking in our direction. And I know for many people that can feel painful. But I've discovered something surprising. For me, there has been a great deal of freedom in it. And today, I want to talk exactly about that, about the gift that can be hidden inside becoming more or less invisible. There comes a point, it seems, I guess it's probably different in everybody's life, but when the world stops watching you, even with today's technology and social media and everything, everybody's shouting, but without that, what's happening in your personal life? There comes a point when you realize you're no longer being observed in the same way. People aren't checking to see what you're doing next, what you're wearing, how busy you are. At first, that can feel strange, even kind of unsettling. But then something else happens. It's kind of a relief. You don't feel as though you're on display anymore. You don't feel you need to explain your choices, which is a big one. And you don't feel the pressure to be interesting or impressive. It's as though the spotlight has been turned down, and with it, the noise. And in that quieter light, you can finally exhale. If you find yourself in this kind of situation, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you have freedom from performing. When fewer people are watching, something else falls away, the need to perform. You stop arranging your life so it looks acceptable from the outside. You stop measuring your days by how productive or useful you've been. You stop trying to keep up with the pace that probably was never a good fit for you anyway, or maybe what you've been trying to do wasn't really ever meant for you. And there's freedom in no longer trying to be everything to everyone. Stop and think about that. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't have to feel like you have to be everything to everyone. You can let that go. And I know for my life, that's one of the things over the past, probably 15, 20 years, I've had to tell myself, I don't actually need to control this situation. I don't need to be the one who makes all the plans. I can put it back in other people's laps. For example, this Christmas, when you've been the mother and made all the plans for decades, it's actually hard sometimes to just stop doing it because you don't even recognize that you are doing it. So when we were planning for Christmas around the 1st of November, I talked to my husband and I talked to my daughters. I have 2 daughters and they both have spouses and one of them has children. And they both said, well, I don't know what we should do. I don't know what we should do. And that's kind of abdication of responsibility. So I just went ahead and booked a hotel for my husband and I to go to where they are. Last year, everybody came to my house. It was wonderful, but it was a ton of work. And I didn't really want to do that. So I just booked us a hotel because it's nice to get away. And then I kind of left it up to them to decide. Now, they live in small apartments. They don't even have ovens big enough for a turkey. So having a turkey dinner is something they've got to figure out. And I just stepped back and let them. My youngest daughter said we could have brunch at her house. I said, okay, this is what I'll bring. And I let them figure the rest out. It was my way of going, I'm okay with being not the one. And it's actually nice because the pressure's off. So this whole thing of freedom from performing and freedom from all the responsibility means you don't have to try and please everyone. You don't have to make the plans for everyone. You can do what feels comfortable for you. If you can wear what feels comfortable, you speak when you have something to say. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. You let your life be simple without apologizing for it. This is not giving up. I think it's more arriving. And one of the sweetest things about this season is how honest we become about what we truly enjoy. You stop pretending to like things you don't. In fact, just stop pretending altogether. You stop chasing what's popular or admired and basically think for yourself. You like what you like, and there's no reason to apologize for that. I want what I want because I want it. It might be you want the same chair, the same mug, the same routines that bring comfort and calm. My husband is very much like that. Don't change anything. In fact, one time we were kind of joking about something and I was like, why don't you do something different? And he just looked at me with this kind of flat look and said, why should I change now? And I'm like, why wouldn't you? But that's none of my business. The great thing is you get to choose the routines. You can read whatever books you want. You can make the same meals over and over again. When I was in high school, my favorite lunch was a tuna sandwich. And actually, it kind of still is. You return to your old loves, like tuna sandwiches, to whatever crafts, whatever routines, to prayer, to walking, to tending your home, whatever you consider something that you've always loved and you want what you want because you want it. It can feel like narrowing, but it's more like coming home to yourself. And you don't have to explain it to anybody. It's kind of the sacred quiet of a smaller life. As your life grows smaller on the outside, which means you don't have as many responsibilities, or perhaps you're just not joining as many things, if that's what you want, which is for introverts is often the case. But it often goes deeper on the inside. You have fewer obligations, fewer expectations, fewer demands on your time and energy. A good example from my life is I go to a church where there's a lot of involvement. There's a lot of programs going on and a lot of things that people want to do and put together. And it's a very sort of community church. So lots of involvement in those kind of different things. But when I started going there, I thought, I had been involved in sort of leadership and worship positions for a long time. I decided I don't want to do that. I just don't want to. So I was offered the opportunity to be a greeter. And I live a good half-hour drive from the church, country miles or kilometers. And I've already talked about having slow mornings, so I have no great desire to leap out of bed and rush off early in the morning so I can be there before everyone else. And so I said, no, I don't want to do that. And my good friend was asking me, and she said, why? Because we've been friends for like 25 years and we're very open with each other. I said, I don't want to get up early. She said, well, you could come when my husband comes early to be the sound guy, which is what he wanted to be involved in. And she said, you could come when he comes. And I said, no. She said, well, why not? I said, I don't want to get up early. This person is happy to get up at 5:30. I think 5:30 in the morning is still in the middle of the night. But I just basically stuck to what I really wanted to do. So when I was asked if I could be on the prayer team, which means at the end of the service, anybody who wants prayer can go to whoever is the sort of designated person to pray for people. And I love praying for people. So I said, absolutely, I'll do that. It doesn't require me to get up early. It doesn't even require me to be on time. I just have to be there for the end of the service. When the last worship songs are being sung, they say, well, you can, if you need prayer or want prayer about anything, you can come and pray. Be prayed for, prayed with. I said, sure, I'll do that. But that's all I do, and that's all I want to do. That's, to me, an example of how things grow deeper. You have fewer obligations, fewer expectations, fewer demands on your time and energy, if that's how you want it. And I use the word demands on purpose because if you think of the word demand, it's like something is asked and required and sort of forced onto you. So you don't have to be part of it. But you can have more presence with yourself. I think we find more gratitude, more awareness of the small, beautiful details of daily life. Smaller life is not an empty one. It's a life with room to breathe. There's dignity in tending to a little world well. And I love that. This is my little world. It's my home, my faith, my creative work, my quiet joys. And those things matter. This kind of life doesn't call attention to itself. And that might be its greatest strength. The other thing that I think is really important about this is that God sees us differently than the world does. The world values visibility, youth, achievement, noise, being impressive, being Mr. or Mrs. Big or whatever. But God has always worked in quieter ways. The scripture reminds us again and again that much of what matters most is unseen, in hidden places, in faithful, ordinary lives. It's the kindness that you show other people. It's the little ways you give without counting the cost. Even if the world no longer notices us in the same way, we are not unseen, especially not by God. In this quieter season, I've come to believe that being less visible to the world has allowed me to be more present with Him and more truly myself. And that feels like a gift. So with my business, I'm being very strategic about how much I show the world and keep back a lot of what is just my small life. So even if you're feeling overlooked or quietly set aside by the pace of the world, I hope this brings you some comfort. There may be more freedom here than you were ever told to expect. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I'm really grateful you're here. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and leave a comment. I love reading your comments. Click the like button because that for some reason affects my channel. And I'll see you next time.